Hey folks, I'm here in Barbados and I'm going to be checking out a bunch of equipment from Divevolk. Their Almighty Dive package with some floats, the rig. On this particular one, I've got the platinum version of the housing. Gonna check those out along with the new SL50 lights. Let's see how they do. Welcome to another Water Trek 360. If you've seen my channel, you know I've been a proponent of Divevolk for almost 4 years, using their equipment on hundreds of dives. They have some new equipment and upgrades, and I'm happy I can share those with you. Full disclosure, Divevolk sent this equipment for me to do a detailed review. As always, these opinions are my own. I do not represent Divevolk, nor am I paid by Divevolk or any other manufacturer I may reference. If I don't like something, I will tell you. Divevolk will not have input into this review, nor see it until I post it. I recently upgraded to the iPhone 16 Pro. I spent a week in the Caribbean. All of the tests were done with that iPhone 16 Pro. If you are using a different camera, please check with Divevolk for any specific nuances or settings for your phone. Do check out my previous videos on tips and tricks using older iPhones and Divevolk gear. So, what did I get? I received the Divevolk Seatouch 4 Max Plus Almighty Kit. It includes the Seatouch 4 Max Plus housing with travel case, dual-handed tray with expansion clamps, 67mm magenta and red filters with 67mm wide angle and macro lenses, two 11-inch flotation devices, four 1-inch ball clamps, two new SL50 video lights with storage cases as well, a protective cover. The housing came with several different phone adapters. We'll get to that again later. They also included a remote control for the lights, which is not included in the standard Almighty kit. Divevolk also sent me the new Platinum housing as well. This also comes with a case and had the iPhone 16 Pro adapter. In this video, we'll look at all of these and a couple other accessories. I will tell you what I like and what I don't like, give improvement suggestions for Divevolk, and my tips and tricks after using Divevolk for 4 years. Let's get started. Testing. Since I was also parallel testing my new iPhone 16 Pro, on day one I used my original housing and simply water tested the other two housings. On day 2 and 3, I used the Max Plus, specifically testing the SL50 lights and remote. The remaining time I used the Platinum. I tested the wide angle lens on day 3 and the macro lens on day 4. The light's batteries, duration, and charging time was done separately, along with some of my tweaks and other equipment tests. So let's take a look at the housings. You have the original Seatouch 4, the Seatouch 4 Max Plus, and the Seatouch 4 Platinum. Both new housings are larger than the original, with the Platinum moving to an all-metal body and weighing in almost twice as much as the Max Plus. They are all depth rated to 196 feet and have an IPX8 rating. They indicate a membrane life of a little over 100,000 touches. What separates these from other housings is that they are a completely touch-screen housing. There are no buttons, no Bluetooth or batteries. They don't require any additional app or subscription fees to operate the housing. You have complete access to the phone's full functionality. Simple, easy to use. A new change is the lens bracket holder. The original housing had this two-piece bracket. This had issues. I sent design improvements to Divevolk in 2021, and they swapped to a single bracket, which carried over into the new Max Plus. The Platinum took my design, incorporating two components into the housing itself, tray mount and lens adapter screws. Great news. While they incorporated two of the improvements I sent them, they left off the shoe mount. I get it, it's an additional cost, but this is a disappointing loss in functionality. I am working on a fix where I take part of the old two-piece adapter and mount it with marine epoxy to the body. Stay tuned for that test. The larger size, though, does address future phone size increases, which the Max Plus may not. It's easier to maintain with the built-in features. It did come with an iPhone 16 Pro adapter, and it worked as well as the others from a touch standpoint. Another item, both new housings, unlike the original, strongly suggest against swiping up to close apps. This is different than in the past. Divevolk instructs you to use assistive touch to close the app. I'm not sure what's changed with the membrane, but when using assistive touch, you may find exited apps remain open, adding additional drain on the phone's battery. Another peeve is that the adapter is super tight. I can't get it out by simply turning it upside down and shaking it like the others. The little tool is a pain to use, and it's easy to lose on the boat. Both housings now instruct you not to use a screen protector at all. They've modified the internal body cavity with tighter tolerances between the membrane, the phone, and the sleeve/adapter. They warn using a screen protector, the phone may get stuck. With the original housing, I was able to use my 13 Pro and 14 Pro with a screen protector and had little or no touch issues. The company says an iPhone 16 Pro will not fit into the original housing. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you know I like to push the envelope when it comes to product testing. I was able to use my 16 Pro, my new phone, with the original housing with a screen protector on it. No issues. I took an old adapter, modified it to fit the 16 Pro, and it worked fine. Awesome. I have a backup. To be clear, I am not advocating you do any of the modifications that I've done during testing and jeopardize your phone or your housing. This is me testing. With the Max Plus, unfortunately, Divevolk did not send me an adapter for the iPhone 16 Pro. I was leaving for the Caribbean in a couple of days, so I needed another MacGyver type fix. I took one of the housing adapters they provided and I modified it to fit my 16 Pro from a length and width standpoint. That proved to be a mistake. In pre-test, I was able to get the adapter in and out with the screen protector on the phone. However, after two dives in roughly 65 feet of water, once back on the boat, I couldn't get it out. I was afraid of damaging my new phone, let alone the housing. Luckily, the local dive shop had ordered a couple of Max Pluses for rentals. They had experienced the same thing. I learned a trick from Brandon, so props to him. If this happens to you, slide a small plastic card between the housing and the phone screen protector, and you should be able to pull it out using the small tool. The dive shop, luckily, had 16 Pro adapter, which I used on subsequent dives without the screen protector and without issues. One of the most frequent questions I get is about the dreaded screen protector. Now, don't do this unless you are comfortable doing so. After my initial testing and upon receiving the Max Plus adapter for the 16 Pro from Divevolk, I retested with a screen protector on both the Max Plus and the Platinum. I was able to get the phone in and out on each with no more difficulty than without a screen protector. Divevolk has a generic adapter for iPhones for the 12 through 15 standard and Pro series. If you look at the differences in depth of the phone, you can see the challenge. This is one reason they warn against using a screen protector. As for touch, it was slightly compromised. There was some reduction in sensitivity, especially when trying to swipe. Hence, good advice to use assistive touch. This may not work with other phones, so try it at your own risk. So let's look at some other equipment that came with the Almighty kit. Two 11-inch float arms, each with about 1 pound of lift. I use them in my tests. This is a nice accessory, but I prefer shorter floats, keeping lights closer to the camera. Longer arms are problematic in tight quarters, like inside of wrecks. I'm not a fan of the old M-style setup. Divevolk should let you pick which flotation size you want, offer smaller sizes like 5-inch when ordering the kit. Again, this is my preference. The dual-handed tray has morphed from this flat design to newer model. The latest has a smaller top ball mount and is marginally lighter. The maximum internal expandable length is 11 inches. This is important if you want to add another additional accessory. Divevolk has a malleable tripod, but it didn't really fit my needs, so I use a rigid one instead. This is my preference and really up to you. Lights. They have a new version of the SL50. It's a little bigger and heavier than the previous version, although it uses the same batteries. They're good to 100 meters, have a beam angle of 120 degrees, a Kelvin just over 5,500. They're not as heavy as some other lights out there, but at 506 grams, still need some flotation assistance. They're pretty compact. They have a max lumen of 5,600 and a CRI of 96. This is a major plus. This level of CRI brings you as close to natural sunlight as is possible. The light has two buttons. You long hold it to turn it on and long hold to turn it off. The left button decreases the intensity of the lumen and the right increases the intensity. It has 9 levels of brightness from 5,600 down to 1,200. Another great feature is that the dial shows you which power setting you are on, and the power indicator shows green at 70%, yellow from 70 to 30, and red when under 30. It didn't come with the kit, but you can get an ambient blue light filter as well. This is really a good way to cool down any red oversaturation when using a red filter, especially in shallow water. Each light came with their own carry case, ball mount, O-rings, grease, etc. It's comparably priced to other standard video lights out there. My one disappointment though is runtime. On high, I can't get over 55 minutes. At a 4 to 5 setting, 90 plus minutes. It says you get 250 minutes on the one setting of 1200, and that's in line with my tests as well. The batteries take 3+ hours to charge, which is a consideration if you are on a liveaboard. My suggestion is to get a spare battery for each light. I hope Divevolk can make improvements in the battery runtime. Another peeve for me is the bubble shape of the light itself. I get it. It helps diffuse light and spread it around. But it only took 3 dives on a crowded boat for both lights to get some serious scuffs. A protective cover would be a good idea. A new feature is this remote control switch for the light, handling both lights simultaneously. It's a really cool feature. I liked it. You control on and off and light intensity with just a thumb or a finger. According to Divevolk, the CR2032 battery that it comes with will last about 6 months and is easily replaceable. Divevolk suggests mounting it on a ball, tri-ball adapter, or possibly attaching it to some other separate tray mount. I found this cumbersome and simply just zip tied it to the tray handle for thumb use. It was a nice way of using it and not letting go of the tray. While this was one of my favorite portions of the lighting system, neither the lights nor the remote have a memory function. If you like picking up your last setting, it would be a nice feature instead of starting at the highest setting all the time. Additionally, the remote doesn't have any kind of power level or battery status indicator. That would be another nice feature. One more design consideration though would be for the tray handle cutout so the adapter could actually fit into the handle for ease of use. Something to think about. Lastly, and to be clear, this is no fault of Divevolk. One of the cords that came either was bent or pulled in such a way it did not work any longer. One of the reasons I don't like long floats. I believe it got damaged on the boat's gear table. Divevolk may want to look at strengthening the cables and nodes. External wet lenses. The Almighty kit came with two 67mm external wet lenses, a .6x wide-angle lens, which I reviewed previously. Do check out that video. This worked as expected. Make sure, though, you align it with the primary lens of the phone for best results. If you do not, you could see some blurriness. It also came with the +8 close-up macro lens. Now this is a bit trickier to use. They suggest zooming in 2 to 3 times for best results. Again, it is best if you center it over whichever camera lens you decide to use. You'll need to play with it a little while to get the best depth of field and sharpness, and it takes some practice. This can be challenging in a current or in tight spaces. Definitely you'll want a tripod or some other stabilization method to get the best results. But it is a fun lens to play with and worth taking your time to do so. They have another macro lens as well, the Pro Plus 18, if you really want to up your game. It's about 3 times the cost, so evaluate your needs. However, it's worth the effort to get shots like these. Tips and tricks. Divevolk suggests the following settings for an iPhone. If you have a different phone, check the manual for the specific settings for your phone. For an iPhone, turn on raise to wake and assistive touch. Turn off auto brightness and 3D touch. I also suggest putting it into airplane mode to conserve battery. Video is a killer. Then in settings, put auto lock to never and live photo off in the camera settings. If you're having a challenge seeing the screen, you may try increasing text size or enabling bold text. Lens adapters. I made changes to allow multiple lens adapters at one time. I used a 25mm long M8 1.25 thread butterfly screw and some plastic washers as bushings. Now, with the macro lens, I could use it when I wanted to over a red filter and then simply slide it away when I didn't want to use it. For the macro, this does not work as well. The wet lens was too far away from the camera lens, so I reversed it. Typically with a macro lens, you are using lights anyway, and at such close range, the red filter is of little or no use. Then, for most of the dive, when I wasn't using the macro, the red filter is in play. Membrane protection. This has been a journey for me. Originally, I used this 1/8 inch neoprene rubber. The challenge was, after extended use, it discolored the membrane. That didn't work too well. So I switched to a plastic version, which I attach with these extra long hair ties. Now, this works great, but it's still a bit light, so I am working on a slightly less buoyant version. The key, though, is to protect the membrane while on the boat and diving, the most vulnerable times. Canvas bags just don't work well. When using the platinum version, especially in a tray mounted system, I keep this little paint can opener available. I can attach it to anything I want, easily removing the adapter when I need to, because that other little tool is a pain. If you need a tripod for just the housing, the Divevolk will work fine there. Tripod. For a heavier tray mounted system, I suggest a metal one with firm adjustable legs like this one. You may need some screw adapters to get it in there, but also remember to thoroughly rinse after each dive. It is metal. A neck lanyard. Rigs can be heavy and unwieldy on the surface, and it's hard to hold a big rig at times. You never know when you might have a situation. I did. Check out my video when we surfaced and our dive boat was gone. The benefit of the Divevolk system, though, is if I didn't get picked up by that passing fishing boat some 30 minutes later, my phone was there for emergency contact. Gloves drastically reduce touch sensitivity, which is why I rarely wear one on my right hand. In super cold water, when I have to, it is important to ensure assistive touch is on. I cut a slit in the upper digit of the index finger to avoid those sensitivity issues. If I'm not using the phone or don't need to adjust it, I simply put it back in for warmth. Do not rub or press the membrane with the hard sewn ridge of the glove. Do not swipe the membrane with that hard edge or any friction enhancing portion of the glove. You can scrape or damage the membrane, or worse, pull the membrane away from the seal of the housing. Lastly, do not be afraid to use complementary apps underwater. I've used StayCam, BeastCam, Cinema P3. Do check out my videos on that. Currently, I am testing Blackmagic and Double Take, so look for those videos as well. So, final results. I am still convinced Divevolk for typical divers is the best housing out there for smartphones. If you are a tech diver going deeper than 200 feet, then yes, you'll need a housing that will do those depths, but it won't be a touchscreen. At this juncture, while the Platinum costs more, granted there's no filter adapter to pay for, and it's sturdier and simpler to use, and should be more compatible with new pending phone sizes, I prefer the Max Plus, primarily due to the lack of the shoe mount on the Platinum. It is a differentiator for me. As for kits, while the almighty kit may not be right for you, Divevolk has continued to expand their offerings and provides complete kits for a variety of divers' needs. They have many accessories like snoots and dome housings and color wheels. Which of those accessories are right for you is up to you. You decide. Check out their website for a full look. As I said up front, I routinely recommend the base Divevolk housing to anyone who asks. It is still simply the best. Well, I hope you found this review useful, including my tips and tricks. Do look for upcoming videos on wreck diving in Barbados and more equipment reviews. Anyway, my friends, as always, stay safe in your dive adventures, and remember, go explore, get wet,